Today's episode of The Rock Fight was made possible by support from Global Sales Guys. Global Sales Guys isn't your normal sales agency. With offices across the U.S. and Europe and partnerships with retailers on 4 continents, GSG is your one-stop shop for brands looking to grow their presence in outdoor specialty shops worldwide. Brands like Van Deer, Red Bull, Nikki, Picture Organic, Kip Run Decathlon, Deluxe, Fubuki, and Gore-Tex all know that Global Sales Guys provide an innovative and full-service approach to delivering their brand's sales and marketing needs. Is your brand looking to break into the U.S. outdoor market? Is your retail shop looking for what's next? Then you need to be working with Global Sales Guys. And if you want to know what's next when it comes to outdoor running and action sports, specialty retail, Global Sales Guys is what's next. See for yourself what's next and get in touch with Global Sales Guys by heading to globalsalesguys.com today.
Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, you know them as Zin's biggest outdoor media influencers after Gear Junkie, of course. It's Owen Comerford and producer Dave. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Yes, I am all nicotined up right as we speak.
Hey, you can tell by my voice, I'm just still straight smoking darts. I'm not even on Zin
you
yet,
do. You
know?
sound like you're just down to pack of Camel Reds and they're on your way to
That's
the
right.
second. What are your tonsils having their own rock fight?
I think it's the holiday illness has descended on the True household, but I guess for our listeners who maybe didn't notice, Zin, big outdoor sponsor now, guys. I don't know if it was in the Gear Junkie newsletter, the healthiest of choices.
Well,
Zin.
hey,
here for
it's not hurting your lungs, so it's all good.
I got 3 texts within about 5 minutes of that newsletter coming out going, "Do you see Zin sponsoring Gear Junkie's newsletter?" It doesn't really quite align, but hey, good for them for trying to tap into an audience.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
It sharpens the mind, focuses the attention.
Well, clearly, I could move over to Zin as you can
Maybe
tell by
you
my
should.
voice, but
Maybe you should.
well, I'm going to try to talk less today. I think that's why that's why we settled on the format. I think is we're doing Owen's predictions because today we're kicking off 2026.
Good luck with that.
by making predictions, or more specifically, our outdoor industry insider Owen has made predictions, and we're going to break them down and talk about them. We're recording this a little early, so no programming reminders, but news from the front. Rock Fight's official newsletter will make its triumphant return this week, as we will be sending out a survey to you, all of our listeners, to weigh in on today's predictions and whether or not you agree with the consigliere on what he thinks will happen in 2026. So if you're not signed up, head right now to rockfight.co, click join the mailing list, and you'll get the survey delivered right to your inbox. Let's just get into it, guys. So a couple weeks ago, Owen, you put 10 predictions on LinkedIn. I have those 10 predictions. I'm going to read each one, and then you're going to tell us why you're making it. And Dave and I are going to weigh in whether we agree, disagree. Maybe we make fun of it, whatever, kind of typical stuff, right?
Yeah.
And does that sound good?
Awesome.
All right, prediction number 1. Outdoor brands get off to a slow start in 2026. So you wrote outdoor brands will see flat to negative comps for the first half thanks to more conservative preseason orders from retailers, combined with decreased demand due to new price increases and overall consumer financial stress. Man, we're just getting sexy right off the right up from the jump.
Yeah. Just sunshine and happiness from Comerford as per usual.
Hope you enjoy the holidays, folks.
But enjoy the deep slumber next.
Yeah. And I also, by the way, I'm only could think about the first half of the year because who the hell knows? I mean, there's never been a tougher time to forecast anything, given the sort of the back and forth nature of policy in this country. But but yeah,
I like how you assume that there's a policy. That's fantastic. You're such an optimist.
I am.
We've traded policy for rhetoric.
Mm-hmm. So I guess policy by tweet or whatever it is. So first of all, what I would say is the preseasons, and I have heard this from multiple brands, preseasons being down kind of in the like 5 to 10% or more range. And you have to, throw your mind back to June, July when those preseasons were being ordered. We were like in the middle of, tariff turmoil. So a lot of retailers were like, I don't know what we're going to order. Okay, we just know that it's going to be less. So, I'm pretty confident that the preseasons are down for most brands. Maybe obviously there are some that are hotter than others, but a lot of the ones I'm talking to, that's kind of what they're seeing. And then on the price increase side, I think we've talked about it quite a bit here, but most price increases that I'm hearing haven't happened yet. But they are happening for spring. And I just don't think that is going to be helpful from a demand perspective. It might help, some of the top line profits, but certainly it's going to bring down unit volume. And I would say probably more than enough to offset the price increase. So overall, it looks a little bit rough.
So last year you predicted a kind of a comeback year. Obviously, we know what happened. I mean, I think the first half prediction was probably the right call here, right? Because there's a little, and we're getting into it with your second prediction, but a little stability, maybe some changes. And second half of the year who knows? It could be a comeback.
Would be a comeback, right? Things could rip up, or we could have an AI bubble and the stock market crashes. Who the hell knows? Quite frankly,
trail running has to save us from
the AI bubble. That's right. Can you distance yourself? Yeah, I think Owen. I think your wrap up here is headwinds, right? Headwinds. We are facing unmitigated and unforeseen headwinds, regardless of what they're gonna be. So
yeah, I mean, I guess that's not usually the way it goes, right? I mean, the headwinds are there; they've been there. We know they. Hopefully, now we know what they are. Last year, we didn't know what was actually going to come, so I guess we'll see how it goes. But
well, let me throw a counter, like an optimistic view. All of these things are going to come to pass. Every worst case scenario you laid out will happen. And what we see when the economy tanks, the bubble bursts, the recessionary pressures hit, is that two forms of of markets tend to weather those better. One is luxury goods, and the other is youth items, right? And they tend not to pull back their spending in the same way. And from what I've seen of outdoor, half of them are trying to be luxury brands, and the other half want to be a teen, fad item. So maybe we will get through this if outdoor continues to kind of look in that kind of double-headed way.
Well, we know some stability would go a long way towards everything happening, in a more favorable direction, which leads us to prediction number two. Tariffs see a rollback. So you're coming in hot on your second prediction here, right? So faced with widespread consumer backlash to increasing prices and legal setbacks from the Supreme Court, the Trump administration rolls back or reconstitutes tariffs on some major categories like apparel and footwear. This might be a little optimistic. What are you thinking here, Owen?
So a couple of things. Well, one of the data points here is that actually Wall Street firms are buying rights to tariff refund claims right now from companies. They're buying them for whatever it is, 20, 30 cents on the dollar, but there's still there's a market in that. And actually, one of the Wall Street firms that is talking about this is Cantor Fitzgerald, which just happens to be the firm that used to be run by Howard Lutnick, who is our Secretary of Commerce. So one would think that
when you say they're buying the rights to tariff refund claims, they're seeing upside in financial upside based off of a potential rollback. Is that, I don't know, explain what the rights are.
Let's say that the Supreme Court says that the Trump administration didn't have rights to do these very broad-based tariffs. That means that everybody who paid these increased tariffs over this last year should get a refund, right? And so they've already paid. So let's say you're a company that's paid, an extra $10 million in tariffs, and now you've got that refund coming. You could sell that potential refund before it obviously is in stone for 20 cents on the dollar, 30 cents on the dollar to one of these firms. So it's an interesting.
Colin, I don't know what you're worried about. I mean, have you read or seen The Big Short?
I was just thinking of The Big Short as you're explaining.
Is there anything about this that would lead you to believe that the market is unstable or possibly rigged? I don't know.
Well, but I mean, this is an interesting data point because otherwise we're relying on the Trump administration coming to its senses and rolling them back, right? Which we know not likely. But you're saying there are markers that are
What
showing that
senses
this
are you
is an
talking
actual
about?
possibility.
Are you talking about empathy or are you talking about predatory instinct?
I'll take either one, Dave.
So the Wall Street part of it, buying the refunds, that is more of a marker or more of an indicator of the Supreme Court basically saying, no,
Right.
you can't do this. And actually, in the early arguments that they heard, over the last, I think it was a couple of months ago, it did sound like the justices were a little bit, questioning of whether this right was in place. But the other piece actually is Trump has rolled back tariffs. So it was 200 different grocery items in mid-November, mainly products that we don't produce much of in this country, like coffee, tea, cocoa, spices, that kind of stuff, right? But it was to address inflation in food prices, which obviously is a big issue. But one could argue that if inflationary pressures continue to be an issue going into the midterms and Republicans want to get some relief there, you could talk to certainly apparel. We don't make a lot of apparel in this country, FYI. And so that would be a way to potentially help impact some of these inflationary areas. Because obviously apparel is it's not to the level of groceries, but it is a pretty big expenditure as well. So that's a possibility. Footwear would be a possibility. I doubt they'd get into, camping equipment and tents and that kind of stuff. That's just too far down the list to make the grade, but wider apparel potentially.
Well, I don't think they're going to roll back the tariffs on footwear and apparel. Now they might change the classification of footwear and apparel to like tropical fruit, right? And then if it's under tropical fruit, then we know they're all not made in the United States. So I think then therefore we could see some relief.
Inedible food item.
Right.
Gotcha.
All right, prediction number 3. Gear as a service subscription model is launched. The high cost of outdoor gear like mountain bikes, kayaks, and skis stands in the way of outdoor activity adoption by younger enthusiasts. To capture their demand, a major retailer or brand will launch a subscription model offering access to the latest high-end gear for a monthly fee. That's a pretty big... you think this is going to happen?
Well, here's where I came to this one. I was thinking through, and we get into this a little bit later, I was thinking through how is REI going to make their membership stickier, right? And probably one of the most sticky ways could be with something like this, a subscription service where you pay whatever it is, $100 a month, and you can get a great mountain bike, great set of skis, a kayak, whatever. Use it for the weekend, bring it back, get something else for the next weekend, et cetera. Super sticky. It would get all sorts of traffic in the stores, et cetera. So that got me thinking about it. So I said, well, okay, I'm going to make the prediction maybe a little bit wider here, and made it sort of broader. The interesting thing on this one was this: of all the predictions on LinkedIn, this is the one that got the most comments, and they were on both sides. So there were a few comments that said, this will never happen. Shipping and handling, cost of the gear, yada, yada. That doesn't make any sense. Then the other side was, this is already happening. There's this company called The Sweet Spot that is doing kind of this sort of thing with bikes, with leases. So, I guess my answer to that is that, yes, shipping and handling would make this a nightmare if you're shipping kayaks back and forth every week. So this will be a brick and mortar solution. So it would either be like an REI or somebody like that has a brick and mortar location, or potentially on the bike side, like a Trek. They've got over 100 plus locations. So, I mean, if you can imagine, like, 1 week I'm going to go in and get a cool road bike. The next week I'm going to get this kick-ass mountain bike. Then I'm going to go get a gravel bike, and I could just do all these things for whatever it is, $100 a month. So that would be my prediction. It's something more like that. But, I think for an REI, what they would do is they would jack up the regular price. So, like the non-member price is like $250 a month, let's say. But if you're a member, you're going to get it for, whatever, $150 a month.
So we're taking the model that's been around forever of renting equipment at a place you want to use the equipment, like a bike rental or a surfboard rental or a ski rental, right? Like that's the new model in the urban area.
Except that it's a subscription, so you're paying every month, right? So, and then you're going back and forth with you're having your equipment, you're just changing it out as you change your activity or whatever you want to do.
I do like this. I don't know if it's maybe this year. Maybe we're still a few years from seeing it ramp itself up. But I also figured out that, if you do have a Geara's subscription service for ultralight, you could probably call that a gaslight. And that probably fits this model even better.
Yes, you could. Thank you, Dave.
I think there's probably a way here. I guess I need to see the spreadsheet of how this becomes profitable, because I just got to think the brands it's going to become at some point like a logistical nightmare, or the retailers even, right? But versus or we could just really work on getting people to buy these
Call
things.
an AI. AI will fix all of that.
How?
I don't know, but they will. Haven't you heard Sam Altman? He's...
But to Dave's point, I mean, the things that we're talking about, bikes, skis, kayaks, they all get rented out today all the time, and it's actually a really great model. I mean, you get to I mean, typically when you're renting that stuff out, halfway through the first season, you've covered the cost of the goods, right?
Sure.
And then you get to rent them for usually at least 2 seasons, and then you get to sell them as used for obviously a discount, but still. Yeah. It's a good model. Now, I think where this becomes exciting for a retail location is that person is probably coming into your store once a month now, right? So they're coming in. Not only are they going to be renting, they're coming in and swapping out their bike for a kayak, but while they're there, they're picking up a PFD. They're picking up a new pair of cycling bibs or whatever.
New pair of tropical fruit.
Well, exactly. I think it's almost like this is a brand or marketing thing more than there's anything else, right? Because if it's sort of, hey, you're trying to tell, because I'm looking at it from the perspective like, why would I do this? And I wouldn't do this, right? I'm just going to go buy a new bike or a kayak or whatever because I know I'm going to use it, or I'm not going to use it, or whatever it is. So if it's who's the person you want to attract to this, and then how do you message to get them in the store? And that's probably the biggest challenge here, because we know that advertising not really the strong suit of the of most folks in the outdoor industry. So how is it? Because it makes sense. You're right. I'm sure there is an audience to capture here, especially in specific locations. It's how do you bring them in to use it? And listen, maybe there's retailers out there already who are commenting on your LinkedIn thread or screaming at their radio right now saying, we're already doing this and it works great. And in that case, please email us, myrockfight@gmail.com. I'd love to hear some success stories here.
I was going to throw in an old man Colin comment that I think this is also generational. You're just not used to subscription services in the same way.
Listen,
right?
I don't like to share.
Right.
I want my own shit. Keep your hands off of my shit.
Totally.
Okay.
But that's why I think this is not a 2026 story as much as it's the next wave story. Right. And we're totally going to see that. Like they're going to grow up into this model and never even bat an eye that it's somehow unique or different or shouldn't exist.
All right. Next prediction, number 4. PFAS rainwear gray market emerges. Untrustful of the new C0 DWR technologies, enthusiasts will stock up on tried and true PFAS-based rainwear pre-2025, placing performance concerns ahead of environmental impact. So you think that all the core are going to be like, fuck this, I'm going to go load up on PFAS.
Well, a portion of them are. I really do. I mean, if you spend any time in the deep darkest recesses of Reddit, there's quite a bit of chatter about this C0 stuff isn't really what we're used to here. And my favorite thing is some of the Redditors that are demanding that it no longer be called DWR. It should now be called NDWR for non-durable water repellency because it basically wears out after a season. So yeah, I that's is it going to be everybody? No, but I think there's going to be people who are going to be really either hanging on to their DWR, to their old PFAS stuff, or actively looking for it on Gear Trade and other places.
Yeah, my gut when I read this, when I only kind of half read your list, was sort of like, what are you talking about? Nobody's going to care enough about this. Then realizing that actually, no, we're talking about the core. like the people who actually really do value this stuff, of which there is not that large of an audience, but the ones who do, and
Right.
already are probably mostly our age, and we know that we're all mostly PFAS at this point anyway and don't care about a little bit more entering their body. Sure. Like, why not?
Right.
Go buy 2 or 3
You
more
know.
shells and you're good for the rest of your life probably,
That's
you know?
right. That's right. I thought gray market was you were referring to the color of water that bounces off a PFAS garment. That was. I see where you're going with this.
A lot of
Yes.
sewer play. in
Yeah, right,
Is
right.
that what's going on? I would love to see that. I want to hear from some folks. myrockfight@gmail.com. Are you loading up on the old good stuff? You know, the unregulated
Right.
PFAS.
That
Well, not
you've
to-
got a case of light bulbs in your garage, right? You've got your PFAS garments. That's right. And a bunch of, food color red number 5.
There you
I'm
go.
going down on the ship with that one.
Yeah, and lots of GMO stuff everywhere.
that's right.
We're just
That's right.
eating all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good.
All right, prediction number 5.
Dolly
Dick's Sporting
sticks.
Goods announces closure of over 10% of Foot Locker locations. Despite changes to assortment and merchandising, over 10% of Foot Locker locations, or 234 plus stores, won't have the projected return on investment needed to bring the stores up to Dick's new standard. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, 200 plus stores. Really, where this came from is, and people might remember when we talked about this on the pod, but they announced this big write down, right? $500 to $700 million write down
Right.
that they were taking. And as they talked about it, the second biggest reason they said was store closures. And
Right.
just kind of doing the math in terms of, what their average lease looks like, lease projections, et cetera. If we're talking about 100 to 200 million of that 500 to 750, that would cover probably at least 200 stores, if not 300 or 400 stores. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a chunk.
I'm with you. I'd even go on the higher side of that. And if I was going to, I'd say 10% might be the floor, frankly. And there's so much footprint in there that can't be performing at a level that they needed to. And I just think there's plenty of malls that haven't been gutted yet. I think they can absolutely find some.
I mean, there's a lot of stores in B and C class malls that,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And the thing about these smaller footprint stores as well is, you just have a minimum staffing level. And so the operating costs aren't really cheaper that much in a C class mall versus a B or an A class mall. Right. But your sales are far, far less. And so it just, that ROI just isn't there.
I want to talk about Foot Locker for a second because, I think, and nobody really wrote in about this when we talked about them on the pod, but it's not really a retailer that comes up a lot in outdoor industry conversations. And I think it probably should, even more so now, given the Dick's acquisition. How many outdoor footwear brands do you guys think have a legit Foot Locker strategy, either pre or post acquisition? I mean, if I put the over under at 12.5, would you say that's low or high? I mean, I think there's
High.
probably a lot of footwear brands who don't. Yeah, high, right?
Yeah.
So I did look at just Foot Locker's website and just did, just searching. So this is, you can debate the method, but this is what I found. So if you look at outdoor brands that are currently on footlocker.com, you have On, Timberland, Adidas, Merrell, UGG, Crocs, Nike, not ACG, just Nike, Birkenstock, and Hoka. So they're currently selling. Those are some pretty big players that we talk about frequently on this podcast.
But you could
And-
argue whether a lot of those are outdoor brands or not.
You could, but I mean, we talk
You
about.
could argue whether they're outdoor footwear specific brands, right? When you take take that.
But I just think you're probably, given the way things are changing and the sort of again, the casual versus core conversation, the where people are getting their shoes, what are you making? What is your strategy for Foot Locker, especially if Dick's is already on your radar as a potential retailer? I think there should be a brand that you should have a strategy for Foot Locker as well. Even if maybe you're not going to execute on it, maybe you're not going to pitch it, but boy, Dick, the whole sort of equation, if you're already looking at Dick's, has become much more interesting, if not more complicated, given this acquisition.
Oh, totally. And I mean, if you're interested in Dick's, guess what? Foot Locker's footwear volume is about twice what Dick's is. So, hey,
Colin, what's your hush puppy strategy? Just curious about that.
I would carry hush puppies in my outdoor store. Why not? Who knows?
But would your hush puppy store carry other brands? That's the question.
Just Crocs.
Just, I suppose I suppose they
No,
do.
but Hoka has a decent little assortment on there.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's I don't know. This is gonna be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
Hey, Rock Fighters, 2026 has arrived, and Lem Shoes is bringing in the new year with new products that will keep your feet happy, no matter what the occasion. Hey, you want to get out for a hike? Check out the Trail Thrasher or the Trailblazer Mid. Are you looking for function and fashion? The Summit Boot Pro will work hard to make you look good while keeping your feet comfy during the winter months. And at the end of the day, stay comfy with Lem's brand new Zen Clog. And attention outdoor and footwear retailers, Lem's recently expanded their wholesale sales team. Do you want to meet your new local rep? Well, send an email to Colo, that's COLO, at lemshoes.com. Just make sure you tell them that the Rock Fight sent you. Lems, where less equals more. Fjallraven isn't here to conquer mountains, tame rivers, or beat the weather. We are here to go slowly, to tread carefully, and to cherish the visit. For us, the outdoor experience has never been a race to victory. It's an ongoing journey to create equipment and memories that last for generations to come. Our mission is to inspire more people to move with nature, and we do this by developing durable and functional equipment that never goes out of fashion. What we really want is to make it easier for people to enjoy spending time in nature on nature's terms. This is our passion. So let's use this vast experience and competence to help more people feel at home in nature, because when they do, they will take greater care of it. Get started on your Fjallraven journey by heading to fjallraven.com today. All right, number 6. We're halfway through the list.
Woo, let's go.
This one probably could have been either the one we did first, maybe the one we closed with. We're putting it right in the middle. I think we're going to talk about it the most.
That's a strategy
REI.
to build listenership, Colin. We should be
That's right.
actually popping
Don't
an ad
miss the
right
middle of the
here.
conversation.
That's right.
That's where the good shit
wait
is.
for it. Come back when we're back. Join us for this new question you're going to love.
REI makes major changes to its membership dividend. Dun, dun, dun. Needing to drive increased loyalty while simultaneously improving margins, REI will cut the dividend percentage for non-REI branded products, but add a bunch of additional benefits, primarily from outside companies. Given that I actually bought some non-REI branded products for Christmas at REI this year, this would have affected me. So what are you thinking here?
So in their Peak 28 strategic objectives that came out, I don't know, 3 months ago, they said they promised reinvented membership, update our membership program with highly differentiated offerings to deepen engagement with customers, embody our co-op values, and foster financial growth. So
just wonderfully vague. Just
totally
beautifully vague. which, by the way, I'm saying that respectfully. Like
Yes,
that was a
well
lot
done.
there without actually saying
done.
anything. Like,
A lot of
I'm not
maneuver
kidding.
room in that.
Right. I'm not making fun of them.
But obviously, there are going to be changes to the membership. Is the
Right,
exactly
exactly.
thing.
That's
Right?
the takeaway. Right.
So I think so. From a prediction perspective, I'm not exactly going too far out on a limb. I think the biggest part is the specifics that I'm saying. Is the biggest one basically being that the dividend for non-REI branded products will go down from 10%. I'm saying it'll go down to 5%. But roughly that'll
That's
go down.
big. That's a big drop.
It is, but hey, we want you to buy more of the REI branded stuff. So maybe the REI branded stuff goes from 10 to 15 to make up for the reduction. Right? But they make more money on the REI branded stuff. It's unique. They want more people buying that stuff anyway. So, it's sort of a win-win for them potentially. But and the reason why I think there's going to be this change in the amount is they have talked somewhat publicly, but definitely off the record, that I've talked to that the dividend is a real sort of millstone around their neck financially. It just costs a shit ton of money for them, and they need to find a way to at least make it more useful for them, which it would be if it was more about the branded product. But so when they talk about fostering financial growth, I think that's the code word for we're going to cut the dividend. So that's the first thing I would say. And then the other piece, the highly differentiated offerings piece, that to me says, hey, we need to add a whole bunch of stuff so people aren't totally pissed off with us. I know, by the way, it doesn't say, people are like, oh, well, but the bylaws basically have nothing to do with this, because in the bylaws, the board can change the dividend at will. basically. So that's nothing. But I think that what they'll do is they'll bring in a bunch of outside companies, and they've actually already started. When I first put out this LinkedIn on this about 3 months ago, I said that the first one was adventure travel, and sure enough, they've brought in an outside adventure travel company. So I think that's just the first of many of these outside, because this is a great benefit, right? It's like, hey, you bring in this outside company, they basically pay you REI for access to your membership base, and they give your members a special deal. So it sounds like it's a good thing to the members. It's a good thing to REI, win-win, and everything sounds rosy.
What do you think? Okay, so let's say it unfolds the way you just described, just like to the letter, just for the sake of argument, right?
Yep.
You were 100% right on this prediction. What is the backlash, right? Because I look at this and I'm like, look, I get there's going to be some people out there who aren't going to like any changes, and they're going to be noisy.
Change
about
is
that.
the backlash, Colin.
Well,
Wait a
exactly.
minute.
But I also,
how dare
like,
you?
At this point, I mean, the key point, the operative part of your statement there, Owen, is this is a huge burden on a company that's trying to get its footing and be more profitable. And basically, it's kind of like kitchen sink time for these guys.
Right.
And, so I can't help but defer to them. Like, look, man, figure out how to fix your business. Are you going to piss off some people along the way? Like, probably. Yes.
Yeah. No,
but you need to do something here. So what do you think the backlash is if this goes off the way you're describing?
Well, there will be a highly public backlash, as there always is. I mean, think about when REI.
If you consider Reddit public.
Well, exactly, and that's my point. Is that if you think about when REI changed their return policy from lifetime to whatever it is now, like you would have thought the world had ended and that nobody would ever buy from REI again. Right? And
I was just about to say, and yet the world continued to spin miraculously.
And they still grew and had record sales. So will there be a very public backlash and people burning their REI membership cards? Yes. Will it actually hurt their sales at all? No.
No, because most people are probably signed up for the program, don't understand that they're getting anything for being signed up because they gave their email or their phone number at checkout once.
Right.
And then maybe get the email at the end of the year going, hey, you have $200 to spend or whatever it is. Maybe they don't even open it, right?
I want to say, I think what you've laid out here makes a lot of sense. And not just for REI, but has the biggest scale of this. This is the go-forward model of how brands build experience into their actual business model, more than just offering product, right? By coupling with all of these different things, creating loyalty programs that offer incentive and discount and access. I mean, American Express has been doing this for a long time in a bigger sense. I think this is the way forward that a lot of brands could look to, not just REI.
Sure. I mean, think if REI, they hook up with the folks at Outside, and as part of that, you get a special subscription rate to the whole Outside thingamabobber. You get
or something at the festival.
At the festival, you get a free upgrade
right.
to VIP seats if you're an REI member, whatever, right? And so it gets then from Outside's perspective, they get into an email that goes out to all whatever it is 30 million members. Okay, so that's great. They get sort of the free advertising. REI gets a free thing that they can that they can promote as yet another benefit. Like if you add up all the benefits of being an REI member, it's worth whatever $1,000 a year just for being a member, just for paying $30 for your membership one time, right? So it just makes a ton of sense.
This is much more thoughtful than my solution, I think.
This
is good.
Which was, yeah.
I just think what they could just, if they have a problem with paying out, just have fewer members and just recycle your membership base, right? And just kind of ground them down, turn them into kind of new members, kind of the REI Remem program.
Is this a pluribus solution? Is that
Well,
what we're doing?
it just makes sense, right? They solve their sustainability issue, they solve their membership issue. Like it ticks a lot of boxes, but I think yours is better.
Well,
listen, at the next.
That's not the craziest idea, Dave. Well, no, because
outdoor cannibalism is good.
Somebody started day drinking, I see.
I'm not suggesting outdoor cannibalism or even grinding people up. But
okay.
What it got me thinking about, though, is the fact that it is a lifetime membership today. And so, you get people that, to your point, Colin, signed up 30 years ago and never even thought twice about it. But if you flip the membership model to an annual membership where you've got to pay, because that's the other way to solve it. do the 10% back. That's all awesome. But hey, to get the 10% back, you've got to pay whatever it
Or
is, $10
activate
a
it
month.
within the year, right? By purchasing.
Well, no,
that
but
acts as a membership.
well, but I mean, you only get the dividend if you buy, right? So
Buy.
it's so
Fair enough. Fair enough.
that's sort of a given. But yeah, that's the other option would be to make it an actual annual membership.
Mhm.
Congratulations to us because we're 6 predictions in. I mean, to Owen wrote the list, but we're 6 predictions in. No footwear mentions
Oh.
until now. Prediction number 7: Hoka's growth flattens out in 2025. All of Hoka's growth came from international markets as U.S. sales slowed. In 2026, the international growth will no longer be enough to make up for U.S. declines.
So
I think was this the easiest one to write?
I mean, you never know in terms of what might happen. But if the current trends continue, I think this is true because their sales growth actually had been, sort of mid-teens in 2024, even in the US. So things are going fine. Now they've dropped to flat to down single digits. Okay. And obviously the US is their biggest market. But in overall, they were up 10% for an overall brand because their international sales were, up 30, 40% in a quarter. So that was great. If the U.S. sales continue to slide, so instead of being down 2%, we're now down 5%, which is where the trend would take us. It's going to be hard to comp those international numbers, right? Year on year increases. So maybe those drop down to like 10, 15%. You're probably at that point, growth is going to slow, if not totally stall for Hoka. And that's basically what the prediction is.
This feels like it was inevitable at some point, right? I mean, even like you're seeing trend shifts, we're seeing some more minimal stuff come back into play, right? And away from sort of the traditional, like what Hoka has built itself upon. Yeah. I mean, Dave, what would you say is Hoka's next move? Because I feel like this feels a little Under Armour-ish in terms of like this sort of massive growth explosion of a brand. It gets to this point, they're the next thing, hit some headwinds, right? Trends change, whatever. And now it's kind of that time. I mean, maybe Lulu is another comp of like just like, hey, we can ride this rocket ship forever. Oh, no, it's time. It's time for a little bit of a slowdown.
I don't know if we've seen the ceiling on Hoka, right? I think. Well,
what do they need to do? What's the next move?
think they need to regain stack height supremacy. I mean, clearly they have wavered in that commitment, and I think next year we're going to see them introduce possibly the first 110 millimeter heel stack height shoe, which is double right now what's being out there in the market. And so I think that's what they need is a leap, if you will. I
want to tell you to like stop kidding around and like, but I'm like, I don't think you might be right.
No, up is the only way, Colin. And just for anybody who wants to know how big is 110 millimeter, it's about 44 slices of cheese, right? So if you put 44 slices of cheese, that's what you're talking about. And I think that is the path.
No, but all kidding aside, if you were in charge of brand, what would you do?
I'm not kidding. I'd go higher.
I'd go bigger.
I'd go bigger, go
Double
higher.
down on the heritage.
Right. Their whole business model is based on inflating one's posture. So I think this just totally makes sense. If they're flattening, just go to the well. Go to the well. Bigger,
and
faster.
just increase your product liability insurance for all the twisted ankles.
That's right. But I think you could do that. No, look, they created a look. And of course, that trend line is going to come down. There's no way about that. So we've talked about this with other brands. You're going to have to.
But we talked about it at TRE where like every shoe looks like Hoka. I mean,
right.
It's. I put out a post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
8 different shoes where I took off the branding. And it was, unless you were really like deep into this business, trying to pick out a one versus the other would have been tough.
Unless you were Colin or Shante is what Owen means.
Well, and to be clear, look, those were only black shoes. So, okay, right. I got a Hoka's.
No, but all kidding aside, you're not wrong.
No, but there is the can they develop and can they get out of their own way and create something that expands their design language away from this thing they created that has clearly going to see a trend line for its fad, if you will. Yeah. But can they start to move in another direction that allows them to maybe invent the next trend line, but still, it's always going to be that internal debate of what is Hoka and what is not. And I'm sure they're having those discussions. Color is one of those things. I'm sure that they'll continue it, but I don't think that's enough to reverse it. I think we're talking about a new shape and a new plane for them to play in.
I think. Do you think we're going all in on apparel? We got to get our apparel line going, guys.
Oh, that's going on.
Yeah,
and the accessories business. Let's go. Right. Let's go.
What categories can we break into? Denim, the Hoka denim. I think.
Well, eyewear would be the one that I would see. Hoka eyewear, big fat, big lensed eyewear. Come on.
I mean,
so do you? We talked about their most recent campaign, which really talked about the how trail running kind of brings people together, and I think that was that
was a really good ad. Yeah.
It was a good ad, right? And I think that could be part of what they're looking to do here is really re-embracing their core to reposition the brand back as this enthusiast running brand, as opposed to the mall walking brand that it has become.
For sure.
Right.
Which they're definitely doing.
Yeah.
And help set them up for that accessories path. Hoka cologne. I think the smell of Hoka.
What does Hoka cologne smell
like? I don't know,
wrong.
but I bet it's inspirational.
Sure.
Hoka ankle brace, a whole line of ankle braces.
Oh, that's a great idea. I really like that. You know what? I think ankle, but don't forget the wrist. That's the unsung hero in a fall.
That's true.
So I think, dude, rising that up could be amazing.
Yeah. And we could do elbow pads too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think late 1970s skateboarding, knee pads, elbow pads, maybe some thin helmets. That's awesome.
Okay.
You got to wear those when you wear your giant
full
stack
contact mall walking. I think it's a sport we can get behind.
All right, prediction number 8. Used gear makes it onto the main product page. Used gear will move from brands' lightly trafficked dedicated used gear sites and onto the main product page as key brands start to realize that these sales support their new business rather than cannibalize it. This is one I want to happen. I
love this one. I do. I want this to happen too.
If everyone, Owen's nothing if not an optimist. Go ahead, Owen. What do you got on this one?
So what I would say is this was actually inspired by Patagonia. I was on Patagonia.com, and they now have actually moved it such that it's like a tab. So the main
for worn wear.
Yeah. So if you go on to the Better Sweater page, right, the main tab is the new product and all the colors and sizes available. But then there's a little tab thing. You click and then you can see here are all of the used stuff that's available. Now, the challenge I have with the Patagonia one was the surprising lack of inventory. Like for a men's Better Sweater, right, I think that's probably their top selling product. They had one color size option available. A blue small Better Sweater. That was it, right? And so that's either A, they're very successful in moving through their used gear, in which case kudos Patagonia. Maybe this thing has really taken off by moving to this approach, which I hope that's what's happening, as opposed to they just don't actually get any of this used gear, despite talking about it a lot. But I think this is the answer, because otherwise they get all this product, whether it's actually used gear or returns or whatever else. This is going to really help to sell through that product. It's going to bring a new customer in who wasn't going to buy the new stuff. And even the new people who probably were never going to buy used will think better of you because you have it available. So I just think it's a win-win for the brand. It's a win for the environment. It should happen.
As much as I think that would be a good thing if it did, and I don't like the separate sites and the sort of lack of promotion of the sites and the clear prioritization of new product, isn't this, even if this does happen in a larger way, isn't it still just another delay towards the inevitable outcome of just more gear trades and third-party sellers who take care of this and just sort of partner with them, let them handle it, and you make new stuff, they're the experts on the used stuff, and let them do it. I just feel like that should be the goal we're driving towards with all of our brands.
Just because it's being moved to a different expertise doesn't mean there's still not a brand implication to it. So if I'm a brand and I'm still having contracting out, I would still be using it as a promotional and conversation piece. I would still be elevating the imagery around that. Right? There's a lot. That's a maturing side of the market that we're just not at yet.
For the one blue small,
Yes,
better sweater.
it's about the concept.
a lot of resources towards
well,
the
this is
one
this is the problem. This is the difference in terms of branding versus retail, right?
Yeah.
I'm not moving the one blue small. I'm moving the idea of go here and find a treasure, and that
Right.
you're going to get
And it will be
value.
here too.
That's what we need to see from their advertising, and get away from this idea that I'm pushing an item in my used bin, but it's this concept of where you can go and prioritizing it from a message. That's changes consumer behavior, right? And so I would say that is a responsibility of the brands to start integrating that into their messaging.
I agree. Yeah.
That assumes that they're good at advertising. So let's help them with that. You should advertise in the Rock Fight if you want to have that message get out to the larger industry, right?
If anything, it reassures me of their skill at advertising. Just cycle through Instagram for a few minutes, and boy, that'll let you know.
Well, I mean, this is a different can of words, maybe a different episode, but I mean, that is a challenge, right? A lot of things we talk about is messaging and positioning. And if you really step back and take the industry as a whole, we're not calling anybody specifically out, not real great at that, right? You know, so
It's courage, Colin. It's courage, not a challenge. It just takes courage.
All right, pin in that for a future episode. All right, prediction number 9. We're getting the last two guys.
Man,
We're near
if
the
they're
end
still
here.
listening, we're at number 9.
Don't worry, we're going to bring it back in because we went to sustainability from footwear, getting right back to footwear. Here we go. We will reach peak trail running culture. Trail running makes the leap to mainstream, becoming a bigger percentage of assortment beyond outdoor and run specialty, influencing more lifestyle footwear and apparel, trailcore perhaps, and more trail running news in mainstream sports and media outlets. Owen, when did they get to you? And how did they break you? I want to hear the full story.
It was actually at TRE. They pulled me into the back room. Yeah. It was.
Just drink this Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it was a sock, full weighted sock. They just started whapping me with from Smartwool, as I remember.
It's a compression sock, actually.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, because I don't know. It feels like, certainly on this podcast, that we have already reached peak trailcore here. But
you're just giving up, man.
No.
Remember,
but
though, we work 12 to 18 months out, so it's really hasn't even hit there yet.
Oh, that's exactly my point. We're kind of maybe there within the specialty channel, but we're talking. This is broader, right? This is saying no, it's out there. And the interesting thing is, like, if you look right now on the streets of Manhattan, the Salomon XT6 is like the shoe. That's what people are wearing. So again, if the coasts are kind of at the leading edge for what happens for the rest of the country, this is happening. I mean, it's definitely not about people actually trail running, but it's about people wanting to look as if they're trail running.
For footwear, I agree with you, right? I mean, you go back, this is the Rihanna thing. Solomon, again, another one to bring up. People are starting to wear that more. I think, we know that trail running shoes have basically taken, our light hikers out to the woodshed and brutally murdered them, right? So it's taken over. I just don't believe that trail running makes any leap to the mainstream beyond shoes. I don't think that it's gonna be in the regular conversation with activities and sports and what trail running is any more so than any of these other activities we talk about. Is there a trend possibility? Absolutely, especially with shoes. I'm just not sure I can get there on the other stuff. Dave, what do you think?
I think hair's getting longer, beards are getting bushier. I think we're going to see a back to the land movement that is led by the trail runners. A little bit faster. I'm all for it.
So will there be a trail running event this year that is mentioned on any of the ESPNs 1 through 12 this year? Would you say?
No.
No. I was just had to think which Olympics we're getting this year, and it's the Winter
depends.
Olympics. So
If there's an SEC tailgate going on that trail, yes, they'll be all over it. But if it doesn't involve college football and in the Southeast United States, it will not be on ESPN.
I guess if it's one of those gets a mention, I'm sure right now, like so-and-so Western states, there's a blurb, like those things I'm sure probably happen now. I think that happens. But in terms of like coverage, like there's coverage of other sports.
The Boston Marathon coverage, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Not going to happen.
I think,
To be fair,
Okay.
that coverage gets a single line in their little top 5 headlines, and it lasts for 4 hours, and then it's taken out by again
Boston Marathon?
Yeah, and then it's
Right, carrying on the fact that the Red Sox play the same day.
right.
Yeah. And trust me, I'm still bought in on trail running. I agree with where it's going within
Yep.
the industry. I just can't,
I
I just
love it.
can't get on board with the mainstream thing. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right, fine.
All right, last one. Prediction number 10.
Okay, here we
And,
are, Colin. We're at number 10. Oh my gosh, we've made it to the end.
We know there's some outdoor folks out there that are not going to like this one because it's AI becomes your outdoor gear buddy. Taking up a new outdoor sport can be intimidating, so major retailers will launch AI-driven personas that will answer all of your questions, put together a custom packing list, and make a bunch of gear recommendations based on your personal needs, skill level, trip, weather conditions, etc. I mean, this is already kind of happening, right? You can do this on like ChatGPT and stuff like that, right?
Sure, you could do it on ChatGPT, and there are even companies out there like Remark, that is with remark.com, a friend of, not really a friend of the pod, but a company that I've chatted with in the past, that's specifically specialized in the outdoor space. But they actually tie AI in with human experts, but really, I think in a lot of ways, the human experts are training the AI to be able to do it themselves in the future, right? And so. Okay. So right now you've got sort of these chatbots, and chatbots are getting way better. But I'm talking about like where it's really a forward-facing, like AI version of a green vest for REI or something, where they're actually on the website saying, "How can I help you to do X, Y, or Z?"
Back to my dig about the industry and advertising. Do we feel that outdoor retailers are savvy enough to want this? And also, will the blowback on the AI, at least again anecdotally looking at social media and things like that, from the outdoor community is still pretty anti at this point, right? There's not a lot of folks out there. I see plenty of people out there right now like, don't support this, support artists, don't get into AI, ban AI, just like stuff like, which frankly is kind of a silly thing to say. It's not going to happen. Like the ship has sailed, right? We know that, but it's still seems to be the more general sentiment of the space. Wouldn't that get in the way potentially of this actually happening? Like, couldn't you see, talk about the Reddit boards of REI rolled out an AI assistant that could be perceived as taking people off the retail floor and all of this stuff, right? I mean, I think the outdoor community and industry would have a tough time with this.
I think some people would, but again, I think the reality is most folks buying from REI actually would really appreciate this kind of help, right? And it's just it's where things are right now, and even even looking at the folks that Remark is working with, it's a lot of bigger. They work with Darn Treff, they work with Pro Lazumi, they work with a bunch of different players already in the space quietly, right? They're not out there saying, oh, we have all this AI here, but it's out there. It's already there to a degree. It's just how much you want to kind of come, to the forefront with it.
Dave, you're the master of the Rock Fight's AI.
Well, look, I mean, there's two sides to this. There's essentially what you're describing about is just more shopping features. How do I pick my gear? How do I choose my items? And that's already happening. I mean, most websites you deal with are already using some form of that anyway, whether you choose to call it AI or not. And again, I don't think this is a 2026 thing, but I look a little more over the horizon about this and imagine you've got trail apps are essentially forms of AI in terms of, planning trips and understanding the features. Now take that to another level of depth and understanding. Large language models aren't going to replace lawyers. Law-specific language models are going to replace lawyers, or medical-specific. So take that and add the idea of that knowledge in terms of guides, of first responder, things like that. Then you're going to create this useful tool that goes beyond what we have right now, that can live, in your device. It doesn't require to be hooked up, things like that. I think that's where the real benefit from a quote unquote AI is going to come from, when we start to tap the deep wells of specific knowledge bases and make that more accessible.
And I think that's important with any of these sorts of LLMs, would be that it would be trained on all of the resources, let's say, of REI, or all of the gearhead chats that ever existed within backcountry, what have you, right? You're training it on true expertise, as opposed to a broader LLM that's pulling stuff out of Reddit that is ridiculously stupid, right? So
that's right.
Well,
offer the bear a drink. Right, there you go. That's just that'll appease them.
This episode isn't out yet, but Owen's invite to GOA Connect has already been revoked. Right. They knew this conversation was happening.
REI, AI. What are you talking about? REAI. There we go. Now we've got it. REAI, the new app.
That's what I mean. I'm thinking of that's the next thing here, right? So I agree with you guys. This is happening. This is going to happen, right? It's right to a certain degree, but then it's going to be we are an AI-free store, right? Just you could see how play this thing out with what's going to happen in the outdoor industry and how the response is going to be. Right.
But
it's hilarious because as people were posting things like this on Instagram, it's like how much AI was used I have an
EDI inventory, and I use Photoshop in my graphics and all of those things.
Missed.
But we're going to have an AO campaign for authentically outdoorsy, and that will be the anti-AI,
and we'll get sued by the Australian Open, but that'll be a great story into itself.
You're my outdoor buddy with a silicone soul, running my checklist from the north to south pole. You know my trip, my size, my fears, telling me which gloves and which kind of beers. I may be new to this outdoor game, but there ain't no need to feel cruddy, 'cause I got my AI pal, my outdoor buddy.
Dave's response: I'm gonna have AI write me a song.
It's time for a party shot.
All right, time for the parting shot. Sorry to make you guys listen to my voice a little bit more, but before we get there, the parting shot, it's brought to you by Garage Grown Gear. New items are constantly being added over on Garage Grown Gear, like Sam Bob's Alpha Joggers. Sam Bob making Alpha Joggers now, guys. You can get Alpha Pants. Toke's Titanium Cup, as well as the Rock Fight's Brand of the Year for 2025. Norda. That's right, Norda trail running shoes, now available on GGG. Head to garagegrowngear.com to check it out. So for the parting shot, we got an email the other day from former Rock Fight guest and friend of the pod, Darren Josie. He sent us a YouTube video from the Rose Anvil channel. Now, Rose Anvil, if you're unfamiliar, is a channel that cuts boots and shoes in half to determine their quality and to rate and review who is making the best quality footwear out there. In a recent video, the Rose Anvil guys took a look at a new boot from Timberland, the Luxe Waterproof boot, which they claim is a high-end heritage version of their classic yellow boot. They look very similar, the yellow boot, the 161s versus the Luxe Waterproof, but this is supposedly a higher quality version of that. I'll link the video in the show notes, and I encourage everyone to watch it, but the key takeaways is that the Luxe Waterproof, priced at $380, is a massive piece of shit. It's made of poor materials and constructed even more poorly, and is nearly twice the cost of the original boot, which is about $210, even though they claim it is made with better materials and better construction. That on its own sucks, and Timberland should issue an apology and probably recall any remaining Luxe Waterproofs they've shipped. But the bigger issue that I want to highlight here, and I definitely want to have you guys weigh in on it, is that this is kind of the modern outdoor industry. We have 50 years of building an industry based on quality and innovation, and we trust these brands that are making these products. And that trust can be exploited when the vast majority of products being sold aren't being used for anything other than daily life. And we all know that Timberland is owned by VF, and in the debate between profitability and quality, I think we have a sneaking suspicion of which side VF is going to favor. And it also sets a terrible precedent for putting quality first. Brands who still hang their hat on performance, using quality as a differentiator, and potentially sacrificing profit margin in the name of that quality, have to compete with brands and products that seem to value the same thing and have a history of valuing that quality, but are now just making overpriced bullshit. So a hearty well done to Rose Anvil, a heartier what the actual fuck Timberland. But that's my parting shot, guys. What do you think about?
It's also your former employer.
Well, right. Thank you. Yeah, I meant to mention that. It is. Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, I see these boots and it means a little something to me. I spent 5 years there. Yeah, You guys watched the video. What'd you think?
I was really blown away. This isn't just a like, oh, they kind of cut some corners here. This is just, no, this thing is a piece of shit that they actively tried to make look like it was a heritage piece, like with the stitched in welting, et cetera, that looks like something, but then when you go and deconstruct the shoe, has no functional purpose, is purely for looks, to fool the customer into thinking it is something that it's not.
Plenty of boot makers do that, but they're sold at like Walmart for like $120, right? They show like stitching and this is glued together. This is a $380 boot from Timberland.
Timberland, exactly. That yes. Talks to all about the incredible craftsmanship, quote unquote, that goes into this boot.
Yes.
That's obviously made in a sneaker factory in Bangladesh. Okay. And you know, I actually, I mean, people probably at VF think that I'm not a fan. I actually am not. I'm not a VF hater. You know, I think they do good things. There are lots of amazing brands that work at VF, a lot of amazing people that work at VF. You know, but this is the kind of shit, quite frankly, that just gives these kind of companies a bad name.
It validates the haters.
It does. It totally validates the haters.
The people who just sort of blindly hate VF for the sake of it because they're big and make money or whatever. Like this gives them an argument.
Right. And so if I work for VF, I am just like so pissed at this kind of stuff because this is the stuff that really undermines everything. And you know, like we were talking about before we started recording here, it's like, well, how did this product come about? And what I hope happened is that someone came up with this idea, a really cool idea to make this heritage boot. So somebody with a brand said that, and then a designer got involved and they designed this really cool looking shoe with the welting and all the stuff, and it was really great. And that somewhere along the way, value engineering came into play, and the whole thing got, you know, effed over and derailed in the supply chain process. As opposed to the other alternative, which is no. They knew from the get-go that they were going to basically create a piece of shit and try to, you know, have 85% margins.
Yeah, that video is very powerful, and in terms of he compares it to the classic boot with this, and to see the thinness of materials, to see just you can see very plainly where the corners were de-specced, I believe. Value engineering I like better than de-specking, but they clearly built this to hit a margin point. There's just no way around it. No designer is going in there willingly making those choices. No designer, I really believe, and maybe I'm out of school here, but wants to go in and change that boot in any appreciable way. Like that's just, it's so well made and so done. Just a quick, and it's apples, maybe not apples to oranges, but you go to a brand like Danner, and they have a Bull Run mock toe, which is a very similar style to that Timberland wheat. Obviously, there's some differences, but the big difference is it's made here, right, first off, and it uses premium materials, and that thing's going to last you 10 years or more, and it's $270. Right, and so it's a full $100. Now they have higher cost boots that also are, more rigorous. But this is kind of that classic. Oh, actually, the Bull Run actually has a steel toe in it too. So you're actually adding more pieces to that. But my point is, they're playing in a price point where you could talk about domestic manufacturing. You can be talking about some of the finest materials available to make shoes that are used by small run boot makers, right? It's just like that level, that should be the most ultimate Timberland boot that you can make in that way. They should still be making it in New England, for crying out loud.
Right, and that then becomes a branding piece, you should actually throw margin out the window when it comes to something like this, and say, no, we want to make the best Timberland that's ever been made, and even if we're only going to make 50 points of margin on it or whatever, who cares? Because it's going to be this pinnacle piece that will push the brand forward. Okay, so whatever, that we don't make as much margin on this, but in the grand scheme, we're only going to sell whatever, a few thousand of them. Who cares? It's a branding piece. The flip side of this is no. You're still only going to spend a few thousand of them, but it's going to damage your brand way more than the value that you got by putting this piece of garbage into the market.
Yeah.
It's pretty astounding. I guess Yeah, so the original one is made in the Dominican, which is it's a kind of a cool story. You're right. I agree, Dave. It was cooler when it was made in New Hampshire, but that's made in the Dominican, $210, and it's a better quality thing.
Yeah.
I guess for us, we have an early contender for brand boner of the year.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's a good way to start. I think. I mean, yeah.
Week 1, we're already you're on watch. We'll see who else can.
And is the brand boner making the boot in the first place, or was it getting caught in such a public and exposed way?
I just kept waiting. I was watching, going, okay, it's not going to be that bad. Okay, it's not going to be that bad. It just kept getting worse and worse the longer the guy went.
Yeah.
God.
By the way, kudos to Rose Anvil and the work that they do. I would really encourage people to watch this video. Even if you're not a gear nerd or a footwear nerd, it was fascinating. Really great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I want to get at. It's bad for the industry to do stuff like this. I mean, it muddies the waters. You already have a brand that already, it has a ton of clout. It takes the attention away from people who are maybe doing it well, or maybe, starts to create doubt for people about, needlessly for other brands, and I don't know. Like, I look at, this is definitely not the only case of this, I am sure, but it's a good example of what, this industry should not be. All right, so that's the parting shot. If anybody at Timberland is listening to this and knows the backstory here and want to speak anonymously off the record, myrockfight@gmail.com is the email address. Reach out. Would love to hear from you. You can get in touch with any of us through LinkedIn as well. Again, we promise to keep it completely off the record, but we would love to hear the story, the behind-the-scenes story of how this came to be. Maybe there's a really good explanation. Be tough to know what that could be, but
in which case we'd love to hear it on the record.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely welcome to come on the record, but
right?
You don't have to. And thanks to Darren for sending it in as well. That's the show for today. Remember, look for the survey. Do you agree with Owen's predictions? Want to hear what you guys have to think? We'll report on that on next week's episode. The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. Today's episode produced by producer Dave, with art direction provided by Sarah Gensert. For Owen Comerford, I'm Colin True. It's 2026, and we're back. Thank you so much for listening. And here to take us out is our guy Krista Makes with the Rock Fight song. He was not made in a Bangladesh sneaker factory. He's from Gainesville, Florida. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Tropical fruit.
Rock fight.